What is going on, YouTube and friends? You are here chilling with a real Satoshi Aoki, back at ya with a crypto.com video. Folks, if you haven't seen my crypto.com video that I did do yesterday, then I'm going to leave that one literally right here, the link for that one. Make sure you do check that out. It's a bit of a longer video, but I have time-stamped it, so you can actually go down and actually check the relevant sections that you do want to hear about. It basically covers all my honest, unbiased thoughts about the recent events with crypto.com and just making you understand it from a more holistic point of view, taking a bit more of a macro look at the situation. As promised, today I'm going to be watching the actual interview in full. It's a 40-minute interview in total. I won't be including the entire interview, but I'll be cutting it up and actually reacting to what I feel are the most important parts for you if you're an investor in the platform, if you hold CRO token, if you're thinking about it, if you're thinking about buying and selling, or maybe you're someone that's just spreading some baseless FUD, who knows? Guys, I do want to come to you unbiasedly, all right? There are some positives within this situation, but there are also negatives as well. To fully disclose, folks, I'm not sponsored by crypto.com, and at the making of this video, I only hold around $300 to $400 worth of CRO. I sold out progressively actually before the bear market and actually got rid of my card stake, and let's not believe I don't think that crypto.com can succeed for the next 5 years as a company. I just had some better opportunities and I was ready to take some profits. I still do own, however, some crypto.com Chronos NFTs. So if you do want to continue the discussion in a bit more detail, I am reachable through my Discord. I've actually got a crypto.com section on there where you can come say hi and we can talk about all things crypto.com and start a bit of a community in there. I will leave the official Discord link, the invite there at the top of the description of this video, as well as this interview. And folks, if you do enjoy this raw, authentic content, me covering the recent news of crypto.com in depth with my honest opinions, then do like this video. It will help the video get more exposure where it is needed. Subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell on if you feel like you enjoy seeing me ugly mug. Without further ado, let's get into the video. This guy clearly doesn't hold any CRO. What do you reckon? The first thing I do want to draw your attention to, ladies and gentlemen, and I did say it in yesterday's video, an exchange is called an exchange. Why do you think that is? It's because you go there to exchange funds. It's not called a cold storage. It's not a vault. It's not even a bank. All right, I'm not even going to put it in that category. Your cryptocurrency is not covered if a company goes bankrupt. A lot of these companies, crypto.com included, have a high insurance level. Okay, you're insured for maybe theft, maybe even if you get scammed or someone gets access to your wallet. But if a company goes bankrupt, you cannot rely on any third-party exchange to recover your funds. So if you're not comfortable with that fact, then do not have big amounts of cryptocurrency on any exchange.
People are way past taking anybody's word for granted. People want to see actions. So as a company, as a brand, and as this team has always focused on not on what we do, what we say, but on what we do. And just look at how we behaved in this in last week. We immediately announced that we're going to provide audited proof of reserves, and our teams are working on this 24/7 with an external auditor. We following the following day, we've committed to show our reserves.
In my opinion, the audited proof of reserves should be something that they do periodically, and to be honest, they should already have something like that set up in place to actually show us. So, in my opinion, the fact that they've just gone out to get the external audit now, after this event has happened, has me a little concerned.
And within 5 hours from that announcement, we've published it. So everybody can see the addresses and transactions going in and out. And most importantly, you could see that our platform is performing kind of business as usual. People are depositing, people are withdrawing, people are trading. There is pretty much normal activity.
Now, to follow on from that, I actually tested out a 50 USDC withdrawal on the Polygon chain to another one of my wallets, and it did come out successfully with absolutely zero delay. I know there were some people on Twitter saying that bigger transactions of 1 BTC or more were actually taking up to 24 hours. I'm not sure if that is entirely true because I did not verify that on the blockchain, but that's actually standard. When I've done transactions close to that kind of value, it has actually taken longer. Not 24 hours, I don't think, but up to 3 or 4 hours sometimes in my last experience.
Just at a heightened level. But it's not only important to look at how a certain company behaves during times of such stress, I think it's important to look at how we behave over the last couple of years and what actions we've taken as a company. So today, Crypto.com is the single most regulated company in this space with highest number of licenses and registrations from tier 1 jurisdictions. We're talking about US with CFTC and money transmitter license, Europe with e-money license registrations in the UK, France, and a number of other markets. Canada, we've got a delivery regulator there. Singapore, we're one of the first companies to be granted a crypto license under the PSA Act by one of the most stringent regulators in the world, the MAS. We've got regulated entities in Australia, in South Korea. So basically, we are covering the whole world in tier 1 jurisdictions as a licensed, regulated business. This is very important in building trust and making sure that everything is run properly. At the same time, we also lead the market in terms of security certifications and privacy certifications. We were the first company to get ISO certified in this space. We have the highest tier 4 NIST ranking. We've got trust marks, 2 trust marks from Singapore that cover privacy and cybersecurity. We are leading the way in compliance, in security, and privacy. This is extremely important for everybody to understand that we've acted as a responsible, regulated player since our inception. We are a global alliance partner of Visa, a tier 1 financial institution. We operate the largest Visa crypto card program in the world today. It's a stable, regulated business, and everybody needs to look at the actions we're taking now to push for transparency, and the actions we've taken in the last couple of years in terms of compliance and cybersecurity is our foundational layer. Now, everybody also should pay attention to what is the actual business. People are asking about the differences between us and players like FTX. These are businesses in the same industry, but they operate completely differently. We've got more than 70 million people on our platform globally who downloaded our app. And our business model is actually very simple. We provide access to the masses to digital assets and take a fee for it. And we've generated for the last 2 years over $1 billion in revenue each in 2021 and in 2022. And we reinvested that revenue into building this compliant, secure infrastructure so that everybody can have a safe and trusted place to trade, to store, to pay with crypto, to basically get full access to this ecosystem. And if you look at the nature of the business, it's really very simple. Give access, charge a fee. We never engaged as a company in any irresponsible lending practices. We never took any third-party risks. We do not run a hedge fund. We do not trade customers' assets. We always kept one-to-one reserves, and it's also true today. And very soon we'll prove it with the audited one-to-one proof of reserves report.
So something that I do want to draw attention to right away, I think people that are comparing Crypto.com to FTX, I think that's a pretty unfair comparison. All the things, the negative things that he was relaying out there about sort of getting loans, lending out funds, using customer funds, doing shady shit behind the scenes, all right? All big institutions are going to do this to some extent to try and get around the law. Every single one, okay? But Crypto.com, I personally think, based on what I can see, are not doing anything like what FTX were doing, all right? Using their freaking FTT token that was just minted out of thin air, not around for very long, not given any real value or decentralization over time, using that as leverage to get loans from random third parties, taking on ridiculous amounts of risk with customer funds, right? Millions of dollars or more. You know, that's just bad practice. None of that was regulated. Crypto.com, Kris Marszelek has said they're not doing that. From what I can see in the transparent business practices that they do have, at least, is that that is not happening, okay? They have got the unaudited proof of reserve funds which were shown, okay, which is essentially if I own, if all of their customers just own BTC, then 100% of their reserves theoretically would be in BTC. So I'm happy from that standpoint.
So I think it's also important to understand that if you look at FTX, list of creditors, probably 100,000 customers. They are typically semi-pro, pro traders. A big chunk of this population is on Twitter, and a big chunk of this population has funds stuck on FTX. It's a completely different business when you're serving pro traders on a derivatives platform versus onboarding 70 million individual customers who predominantly buy and hold. So I want everybody to understand that these are completely two different businesses that are operating in the same space with different focus, different infrastructure, different approach to security, different approach to regulation, and just a different mindset about the business. We are not traders. We are not a hedge fund. We live to give people access to cryptocurrency and take this industry to complete global adoption. So what is going to happen forward is we will just continue with our business as usual, and we will prove all the naysayers, and there is many of these right now on Twitter and over the last couple of days. We'll prove them all wrong with our actions. We'll continue operating as we have always operated, and we'll continue being the safe and secure place where everybody can access crypto. And by the way, there's this debate whether people should be keeping funds on exchanges or withdraw it. I would like to remind everyone that since 2020, we've got Crypto.com DeFi wallet, which is non-custodial. We spent 2 years building and improving it. You can actually link it for your custodial wallet with your non-custodial wallet, and you can withdraw funds to your non-custodial wallet and control the keys. It's a very simple experience. It's as good as it gets in terms of non-custodial wallets. More than 5 million people already downloaded it. So if you guys are looking to move to a setup where you control your coins in a non-custodial wallet, I highly recommend you to download Crypto.com DeFi wallet today. We fully support this movement and the movement of decentralization.
Okay, so one thing I do want to say is I'm not going to speak to the technicalities of, say, the Crypto.com DeFi wallet versus, say, a ledger, okay? I personally would feel more comfortable if I am going to go non-custodial from a SEX, then I'm going to move it to my ledger. Why? Because I feel like I have more control over that than potentially DeFi wallet. If anyone in the comments wants to debunk me on this and say that a DeFi wallet via Crypto.com is just as safe as a ledger, then please, because again, I'm just a passionate avid user in the space. I don't claim to be an expert here. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. But what I also really like is the fact that he is not shying away from the fact that people are obviously withdrawing funds, maybe a little bit more than what he would feel comfortable with, especially in these bearish times of cryptocurrency. But I think the fact that he is basically showing the gateway to move from a SEX to a DSEX or to a non-custodial basically shows that he has at least some degree of confidence in, I guess, having the balance or the funds to hopefully continue to support their business through this bearish market and through such FUD and bearish news of recent times.
How are we different from FTX?
All right, so essentially, there are two business models in cryptocurrency space, right? One is the brokerage model, where our platform, for example, is a counterparty to the transaction. And every time our users buy or sell crypto, we immediately hedge their position to have zero market risks, and we take a fee for providing the access to it. This is 95% of our business. That's also 95% of business of Coinbase. And the other model is taking a fee on exchange where people trade hundreds of millions of dollars. High volume traders, fees are a couple bips and whatnot. So those are the two business models. And We focus on the retail part of the business. Our exchange, while growing fast, and we just launched our Gen 3 version of the exchange, which has got a lot of great features and even lower fees. It's growing nicely, but it's still a small portion of our business. Retail access to 70 million people. This is our core. So it's completely different compared to FTX. I already addressed the issues of mixing up hedge fund business together with an exchange. I think it's a terrible idea. It should be outlawed. I already addressed the irresponsible lending practices of some of the companies that blew up in May. We've never done any of this. We are very conservative, and we like our business to be simple.
So perfect segue to the next question, which is
So basically, he already kind of spoke about that earlier, to be honest. They are different. FTX was involved in just irresponsible practices, again, using their FTT token to get a loan, right? FTT tokens, very speculative asset within cryptocurrency, no integral value. Yes, they can say it has utility, but really it doesn't, in my opinion. And the value of that can go down in an instant because someone like CZ just dumps 500 million of it, and that, through cause and effect, is, lands us where we are now. They don't do any of that, crypto.com. They simply make money on the transactions via the exchange or through supplying people use and access to cryptocurrency through the app. Simple business model, and that's a reasonable response.
Are crypto.com's main sources of income and profit?
Again, it's the fees our users pay whenever we give them access through fiat or crypto trading. We've got also some smaller revenue streams. For example, our crypto.com Pay solution, where merchants accept cryptocurrency as a form of payment for their goods, and we charge 50 basis points for providing the service and subsequently converting it to fiat for them. But majority of it is just a global access to retail.
Awesome. A lot of people, the whole industry is talking about proof of reserves. We're preparing a third-party audit right now. A lot of people wanted to know, can you elaborate on the details of what will be in that audit?
Right. So the objective of the audit is to verify independently that every single coin that we have on the platform is matched by our reserves. And if you want to get a look of how this type of report looks like, you can go to Kraken website. They've been doing this for many years. For our report, we will push extremely hard to do it within 30 days. If it can be done faster, we will do it faster. But you guys have to understand, these are audit firms. They don't operate on crypto speed. We need to onboard. We need to agree on the scope, and we need to complete this, right? And this is a large scale platform, right? With fair amount of scale, right? So I assume that if we manage to cut a week from this, that would be great. But I would not expect this to be any faster. And I understand everybody wants it. I want it too. If there was a physical way of publishing this today, I would publish it today, because I know that everybody wants to just relax. Me too. But you guys need to wait for people who work at different speed than all of us.
Yeah, you've just addressed the second question, which is everyone wants to know: can we get it this week? But as you just said, really hard to do that.
We will do our best to push for it as much as possible. You guys also need to remember that after the events of last week, there's quite a number of other exchanges who are also working on it. I think actually this is a very positive development, that every single exchange that has some basic scale in terms of multiple billions of dollars in AUM, every single one will have to have it and will have to publish. And we will push super hard for this, and we will make sure that it's required by law in every jurisdiction that is a tier one jurisdiction. We've already went through a lot of these processes with multiple regulators, so we run like this, right? But not everybody in the industry today runs like this. So we have to make sure collectively, as an industry, that this is so that there's full transparency. Otherwise, it's going to be extremely hard to restore the trust that was lost last week.
So moving on to the next question. On Friday, we released our cold wallet addresses.
So essentially, the audit is to basically prove that anyone can basically go, and if I have $20,000 worth of Shiba Inu, I know that my $20,000 worth of Shiba Inu, Crypto.com is going to have that at any time, and I can access that.
And a lot of people are talking about 20% of the reserve is in SHIB. Can you explain that? A lot of people were wondering, how does that happen?
Well, it's one-to-one, right? So we store whatever our customers buy. And it so happens that last year, Doge and SHIB were two extremely hot meme coins. And people bought a lot. And they're holding it. They didn't sell it. So as long as our users are holding, we'll be holding it. We have no control over what you guys buy. You buy it, we will store it, we'll keep it safe for you, and that's it. I want to make it clear for everybody that those are not our funds. Those are client funds, right?
Perfect. So another, FUD and stuff like that that's been going around, people are asking, is it true that you've stopped withdrawals?
This is absolutely not true. We're operating as usual. Again, there's a heightened level of activity, which means higher trading volumes, more revenue for us, also higher number of deposits and withdrawals, and we are operating as usual with higher levels of activity. What you will see is that customer service tickets, there's some backlog there, so we're working super hard on making sure that you get answers from customer service in a timely manner. But withdrawals are absolutely core, and withdrawals are working and will always be working. This is absolutely fundamental. So every time you see somebody on Twitter saying that, withdrawals are not working, please double check, because they are working. You go to status.crypto.com and you can see status in real time of all the services. So I recommend you guys take a look at it. This week, there are only 3 coins where we stop withdrawals. One is Gala, which was a security instrument a week ago, and 2 coins called SRM and Ray that are tied to FTX very closely. So we want to protect our users and progressively remove this type of assets from our platform altogether.
I did actually make a withdrawal of 50 USDC. I arrived in another wallet and received it fine. It arrived in another wallet. And what I would also say is all of these major cryptocurrency exchanges right now on the whole, at least for the last 48 hours, have been seeing negative impacts. So basically there's been more money leaving than money actually going in. People are taking more money off exchanges. So overall, it's not just a bad thing for crypto.com, it's a bad thing for all centralized exchanges. And unfortunately, it may be the catalyst in making another big exchange go down if it does happen.
Moving on to the next question. Several influencers on Twitter have been saying crypto.com is in financial trouble. What do you have to say to them?
This is not the first time that people are saying things about crypto.com. They've been saying it for a few years, right? And what I can say is that we will do what we've always done. We will prove people wrong with our actions and not our words. So in a couple of months, all these guys are going to look really, really bad for throwing allegations that have absolutely no substance. Right? Well, as a company, we not only have one-to-one reserve coverage, we also have a tremendously strong balance sheet. So we will continue operating as usual, and we will prove people wrong. I'm looking forward to it more than anything else.
All right, so tremendously strong balance sheet. I'm not sure if there is a way that has been audited or if we can see proof of that, because that is something that I think is very important to see. Look, guys, this is unbiased, but I honestly think Crypto.com, Kris Marszelek, I think the intentions are good. I've never thought that the intentions were to scam somebody, but any centralized exchange can have good intentions. But if the market conditions aren't right and they're not making money and their clientele is leaving, then they can go bankrupt and you can lose your money. That's just the simple fact. So, but the fact that he's saying they do have a strong balance sheet is good, and hopefully it is genuine and it is enough to see them through this bear market before we hit bullish, because I do believe that when we do hit bullish, whenever that may be, then this will just all be forgotten, almost.
Did Crypto.com have any exposure to Luna? That was a really popular question.
Luna, we've been very transparent. We had zero exposure to Luna. And this comes from the conservative way in which we run and operate this business. So first of all, we do not lend to third parties. This has been the source of collapse of companies like Blockfolio and Celsius, right? And we do not take counterparty risk of any sort like this.
Just to reiterate, we spoke about that earlier on in the AMA. He said it a couple of times. I said it in my video yesterday. They don't take that counterparty risk. They don't take that. They don't do risky lending. They don't do risky borrowing. They are conservative in that nature. That is a big W when we look at the sustainability of this company if it does get through the bear market.
And secondly, we've never had any exposure to USD. We thought this 20% yield is too good to be true. We looked at the mechanics of Luna and USD. We consider this a high-risk instrument. So if you remember, we've never even listed USD, where pretty much every other platform did. So we play very conservatively, and our exposure to Luna was zero. If anybody on Twitter says otherwise, it's just food, and it's 100% completely false.
So what I would say is, it's not just the fact that they weren't invested in Luna or UST. That's great because obviously it didn't impact them negatively as a business when, they would have lost those funds. And again, I think he was kind of saying, I don't know this for a fact, but I think Celsius were invested in Luna as well. That's a good thing. But also it just shows that the team who is responsible, or the person responsible for doing the research and establishing to make a decision to not invest in Luna or UST when so many institutions and other people were doing it on the same caliber as Crypto.com and around that caliber, right? But Crypto.com, I guess, had the maturity to do the research and realize that it was not a sustainable economy or a project to invest in. That's a big fat W in my personal opinion. It just goes to show there's a lot of thought that goes into, I guess, the decisions they make when they are, I guess, investing, or when they might invest in some of these projects. They're a lot more conservative, all right, which is definitely a big W.
Moving to the next one. Why did you send nearly 1 billion in stablecoins to FTX? And were those 1 billion recovered?
Ooh,
First of all, people should always look at funds movement on both sides, right? Over a year, $1 billion was moved to FTX, and we recovered all of this. We only had exposure of under $10 million when FTX shut down. And FTX was a trading venue where this is one of the few trading venues with decent liquidity for some of the coins, like the ones I mentioned earlier. SRM, Ray, and they were also one of the primary venues for Solana. So we do hedge some of our customers' orders there. And the way the brokerage part of our business works is that every time customer places an order on the app, buy or sell, we have multiple venues where we could hedge this order, and we pick the most cost-efficient one with best liquidity, lowest cost, so we can pass on these savings to our customers. And this means that we are not taking any market risk. We're always market neutral. But it also means that there must be fund flows between our venue and other venues in the industry. And FTX was one of them, and a very small one for us, for that matter. So we've recovered everything. Our exposure is less than $10 million. Those are the facts, and everything else is just food.
That's a perfectly reasonable response, in my opinion. He needed access, or Crypto.com needed access to certain tokens which had decent liquidity on FTX around a year ago, and that's why some money was sent over there. And in the meantime, they've recovered all of the funds, which I believe would be able to be verified on the blockchain. So yeah, good enough for me. Any comments, guys? Do let me know.
And I believe we answered this. There's another question related to having released our cold wallet addresses and showing the reserves that we have. Everybody started to ask, what about liabilities? Do we hold more assets than liabilities? How does that work? What's the relationship there between those cold wallet addresses and what's there, our assets and our liabilities?
Yeah, again, this is partial information, and all of the other players who are releasing it last week, they released the assets first, because this is the thing that you can compile in the fastest possible way with companies like Nansen, where you just create a dashboard, plug in the addresses, and it calculates it automatically, right? Whenever you need to bring in an external auditor and look at the other side of the equation, it takes a couple of weeks. So both sides with assets and liabilities, proving that we've got full one-to-one reserve coverage will be available in the audited proof of reserves report coming in a few weeks. I want to also mention that on top of this, we've got a tremendously robust balance sheet as a company. So we never needed to raise any funds. We don't need to do it now. We don't anticipate that we will ever need to do it. We have a very strong balance sheet, and that also helps to weather this type of fluctuations.
Cool.
This is a popular question we get all the time. How does Crypto.com afford all these marketing spends with the amount of revenue?
That's a great question.
I think that people need to understand how the communication side of things work whenever this type of deal is announced. Say our deal with our partners at UFC, there's a tagline number of around 175 million, but everybody needs to understand this is a 10-year deal. Crypto.com Arena, it's a 20-year deal. So we simply pay a small portion of this long-term commitment every year. So the way we look at this is it's an investment in building a trusted brand, and it's still a very manageable portion of our revenues, roughly 10% on an annual basis. So if you compare to how much other brands are spending,
if they're saying that 10% of if they're saying that their marketing is only 10% of their balance sheet, then hot damn, they must have a pretty hot balance sheet. So, again, guys, let me know in the comments if there's anywhere via an audit we can see the official recorded balance sheet of Crypto.com, or whether an audit for that is coming, because I haven't heard that anywhere in the space, and that is really what I think the community needs to see. All right, not proof of reserves. All right, obviously we want proof of reserves too, but really what we want to see is the balance sheet. And I know that typically a lot of businesses wouldn't disclose this information, but personally I think if their balance sheet is so strong, there wouldn't be any reason, if they are telling the truth, there shouldn't be any reason to not disclose their balance sheet to the public, that way the public can see, and that's going to give more confidence to people for people to keep investing in CRO and stop moving all of their assets and net worth off the exchange, off of the app, which in turn, through cause and effect, should allow that balance sheet to remain strong through the bear market and slingshot into the bull market if that happens. So that's what I think about that. So seeing that balance sheet, I think, is super, super important, guys. Let me know in the comments if anyone has any ideas about if that's around or when it's happening, if at all.
Per year as a percentage of the revenue on branding, it's not crazy. People think it's crazy because they look at the total numbers over 10, 20 years. But on annual base, as a percentage of revenue, it's quite reasonable.
And I like the fact that he's broken that down, because obviously you think about a partnership with the UFC or the F1, you think, damn, they're going to be expensive to hire. But again, he says it's a 10-year partnership with the UFC. So they're not paying the whole lump. So it's not like they're paying a huge amount of money to have the UFC on board. They have an agreement, they have a contract, and they pay per year, okay? And obviously it's still going to be a lot of money, but, they got money coming in, they pay per year. So, yeah, it makes sense to me.
And I think that I always get asked, would you still do this deal if you knew that if you knew how the market unfolds? We've made a decision that we want to go out there and get our name out there. And we got to a pretty decent scale with 70 million users. It would never be possible without this investment into our brand awareness. And I believe that this is also one of our contributions to the industry, because we managed to get the word out there, not only for ourselves, but also for the entire industry, if only by the virtue of our name.
Absolutely. I love seeing our name everywhere. So what are your expectations about the future, and where do you see Crypto.com in 5 years?
Also a good question.
It's a great question. And, I think after the events of last week, everybody needs to think about how do we restore trust for the entire industry. It's been shaken, badly damaged. In case of many people lost. It's going to require a tremendous amount of work and commitment from every single player in this industry in order to restore this. So this is our priority one. Continue to be the trusted, responsible player that has a fully regulated business that everybody can understand, that's fully transparent, so that we can provide a place that is safe and secure for the users, so that they have a place to go to. And if you extrapolate a few years down the road, like 5 years, okay, so I think that the industry is going to come back, and is going to come back stronger than ever. I think collectively, it's very painful now, but we will benefit collectively from removal of bad actors from the industry. But I want everybody to understand that restoring this faith in our space is going to take time and work. It's not going to be overnight. There's another aspect of it that I frequently think about, and that bear markets are actually good for one thing: really building. There is no hype. You can focus on building products that customers actually want. You need to get to real product market fit. You need to generate real revenues. Those things tend to be a very conducive atmosphere for releasing stuff that is breakthrough. And these innovations that are being built right now are going to help us drive the next cycle of adoption. So I think it's going to be fine. I remain very optimistic about the industry. I'm also clear-eyed about the amount of work that is going to be required from all of us. And I think that if you think about the possibilities, as an industry, we've barely scratched the surface of the potential that this technology holds. I want to see a social network coming out of this space during the next cycle, a product that will onboard 1 billion plus users, a single product. There's still so much to do. So keep faith, stay strong. People who were here in 2018 and 2019, in the depths of the winter, they felt the same things you're feeling now. So I think you need to understand that if you want to have outcomes, you need to have conviction and commitment. And if you have those two things, you're going to do exceptionally well in the future in this space.
All right. So if you've seen my eyes zipping around, it's because I'm trying to catch all the questions coming through on YouTube and elsewhere. So We've got a good one, I think a really good one from Armand Berry. And Armand asked, will you improve rewards on your Visa cards again?
So that's a tricky one because I don't want to overcommit. I'll give you my general answer how I think about rewards. We love to give back to our community and onboard as many people as we can. But we need to balance the revenues that we're generating from our core business with the expenditure on rewards. So you can expect us to have a more attractive set of rewards when the market comes back. In fact, the way we've built our product is...
That's a very fair response so far.
That we've got flexibility to do so. So... yeah.
It's not rocket science, guys. Think about it. If they have more money as a company, they feel more comfortable, they want to attract more users. So essentially them increasing those card rewards again are going to attract more users, which might initially come for a card, but then they might jump on the exchange. They might download the Defi wallet. They might do some swaps within the app. And then it's like they generate revenue from those people, which kind of cover like the interest that they would be paying to another person, if that kind of makes sense. So I think that's totally fair, very reasonable, very logical, and make perfect sense.
The answer is like, as long as it makes sense from sustainability of the business perspective, we're keen to give back more.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. We've got a good question here from Not a Toyota. That's the screen name. Please explain your process to validate sending funds to the correct addresses. Where was the breakdown in the 400 million moved incorrectly?
All right, that's a great question.
That's the big one.
First thing I want to clarify is that every single address that that our systems allow funds to be sent to is whitelisted and approved and pre-approved. And there's no way that systems can go to an address that we can't control and get the funds back from. So people
So you know when I'm talking to you guys about always doing like a test send to an address before you do a big send, you can essentially think about a whitelist as a test send, okay? So they've got to check the address a few times, let it go for 24 hours. That's the protocol, at least, that it used to be with Crypto.com as a user. And then they're going to check it again. Do you know what I mean? And then you might even do a test send on top of that if you want to be really careful to really check that address, all right? So, you know, I get that.
We're speculating that, we had to go and ask Gate.io to return the funds to us. No, we could just withdraw the funds and send it back because it was our corporate account with them. It's just the amount was so large that it was above their daily withdrawal limits.
So that's one big thing to understand, folks. Crypto.com sent the money to Crypto.com. Do you understand? It was Crypto.com's whitelisted address in Gate.io, okay? It's like if you had $1,000 in your Coinbase and you sent $1,000 to your Crypto.com. It's still your money. You haven't lost it. You've just moved it from one exchange to another, all right? So I get that. And he's saying that a mistake was made. Again, I said in yesterday's video that I thought it probably wasn't a mistake, and honestly, I'm not sure. I'm kind of favoring slightly more towards that maybe it was a mistake. Actually, I don't want to say that. I don't know if it was or it wasn't, guys. But yeah, it's possible.
So we've asked them to increase our daily withdrawal limits, and that was the extent of their help. So people need to understand that at no time the funds were at risk of being sent somewhere where we couldn't get it back. And of course, we build the systems in a way to minimize and eliminate any potential for any kind of errors. And after this incident, we've further strengthened it, changed the process, improved it in order to make sure that it just doesn't happen again. It happened over 3 weeks ago. It had nothing to do with Gate doing their proof of reserves. It had nothing to do with any of the craziness that's been happening since FTX collapsed. We're not perfect. We need to improve, and this has been a company that grew tremendously over the last couple of years. We are fixing stuff and improving every single day, but everybody needs to understand that there was. The systems would not allow us to send the funds somewhere where we couldn't retrieve them.
Okay, so one thing I kind of do want to know, and I haven't seen this question raised anywhere on social media, if the funds were not supposed to be sent to Gate.io, 80% of that ETH valued at 320k ETH, valued at 400 million, I think, then where was it supposed to go? And if it was supposed to go somewhere else, then where's the blockchain TX transaction for that, and why? Because that's really what I want to know. Fair enough, you made the mistake, but you got the money back, and then if you were supposed to send it somewhere, it didn't arrive there because you made a mistake. You got the money back, then wouldn't you send it to the place that it was supposed to go? That's what I'm personally very curious about. And I've only just come up with that now, just thinking about that in my own head. If anybody has any information to share on that, again, hit me up in the comments. Leave me a comment first and then jump in my official Discord. Again, the link for that will be in the description. Very much something I want to know the answer to, actually. Damn.
All right, I think we'll end it with one more question. The screen name is a little bit funny. LFG to dinner. Will we see Crypto.com at the FIFA World Cup?
Well, of course, we are the global partner of FIFA World Cup as the
Massive.
cryptocurrency business, and
Good to hear. Good to
there's
hear
going
that's
to
still
be
going
probably
ahead.
5 billion people watching the games. 5 billion. And the name
Yeah.
crypto.com is going to be all over this. So once again, it's going to
That's good.
serve to raise the awareness about it, and maybe help a tiny bit with this issue of trust, just tiny bit, because of the visibility and being right next to
I bloody hope so.
most trusted brands in the world. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a tremendous tournament. Hopefully, it will allow all of us to relax a bit and stop thinking about this collapse last week. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be great. And again, I hope you guys have a good time. We also have some stuff super special for you to participate in. But that's something that we're going to be announcing later.
Alrighty folks, thank you so much for watching today's video. What I want you to do right now is leave me a comment section, jump in the Discord, let's keep this conversation going. What are your thoughts about crypto.com after this AMA? Are you buying CRO on this dip? Are you selling your CRO? Are you moving your money and your funds off the exchange on the app? Are they going to the DeFi wallet? Are they going to your ledger? What is going on? I want to know and I want to hear from you what your thoughts are. If you enjoyed this unbiased review, then smash the like button. It's an easy and free way that you can give back to me, and I really would appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel and also hit the little notification bell if you want to see me ugly mug again, because you can be rest assured that I'm going to be following this story very closely through the bear market and keeping you guys informed as unbiasedly as possible, because let's be honest, there's just too much craziness out there at the moment. And guys, you know, I'm not sponsored by crypto.com. I only actually hold a small amount of CRO, so it's going to be unbiased, it's going to be authentic. I'm going to be real with you guys, okay? Man to man, woman to woman, whatever you want to say. So from wherever you're watching from in the space, like, subscribe, hit the comments, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.